Welcome to Speakeasy! Wow. I don't know that we've gotten like real applause in a while. This is exciting.
Yes, it feels good.
Cool, so we have another short but sweet lineup for you guys. So 3 readers, poetry, nonfiction, poetry, in that order. Just in case you get lost. I think that's probably it.
Yeah, that's probably it with regards to announcements. I mean, we got a sign-up sheet that will go around, but you guys already know this.
Yeah, let's start this way, I guess. So sign up because, as I said last time, we are like 1 or 2 speakeasies away from having no money from the GSO. So it's important that we get the money that we can. And I guess otherwise, Mal's going to be our first reader.
Yeah, so I'm just actually going to sit up here while Sam reads my introduction.
Okay.
I like being awkward like that.
I like it. I'm on board. Okay, so let's get this words. So, Malcolm Friend is a poet and Canto Mundo fellow originally from Rainier Beach neighborhood of Seattle, Washington. In lieu of a bio, he has opted for a short, inspirational poem as his introduction. Though my black skin may offend, still I dab. Though slings and arrows may be thrown, still I dab. Though white eggs upon Twitter shall get upset, still I dab. Dab, dab on. Dab as the sun rises and dab some more. Malcolm Friend.
Yeah, I don't actually dab. I just thought that would be a fun introduction. It would have been much more fun if the Panthers would have won the Super Bowl, but gotta take our victories where we can get them. Alright, so I had no idea what I was reading today until like an hour before the reading, so bear with me. I'll actually start off by reading a poem by Adrian Mateka called Beneath the Baseline, and it's dedicated to Charles Mingus. If claiming you retired 23 Mexican whores in one night wasn't enough, you used a conch to profile a south of the border to be even more in touch with the culture. Now, you're a handful of tap dance on the Ganges. Since mythology is something Ash likes to forget, you are also part of the mulatto revolution. For all those about to pass, we salute you. Even if you played the pimp and lied to your shrink, thanks. Even if you watered up like a baby because the man asked you to play the stars and stripes forever. Thank you for chords so magnanimous that they step all up and down like an asthmatic hoodoo. Alright. Let's see how this reading goes, since I have no idea. Alright, so I'll basically be reading stuff that has been written recently, so again, bear with me. This first poem is called Ode to Tego Calderon, or The Day La Vallarde Dropped was Maelo's Resurrection, and it did go through workshop, and I did change it a little bit, so hopefully workshop folks like it better now. And there are a couple of ways to read it. One is just horizontally, line by line. The other is it's separated into 3 columns. And I'm going to do the second way because people thought that would be more interesting. Right. Ode to Tego Calderon, or The Day La Vallarde Dropped was Maelo's Resurrection. It isn't the salsa-backed intro on the cover, mirror held up, nariz into boca, drip molasses to el sonero mayor. Sonero, no bomba interludes Maelo owned in Villa Palmeras. The Ecuae you sing like him. Tu era wasa wasa, we, lo prieto, lo niche, played back in reverse, taking place on stage, Negra, son un desfile, se alegra. Horns heralding his salsa vieja. Esto fue lo que trajo el barco. Tabemba, voz is drenched in it. Improv mutates over breakbeat. Bring us back to Santurce. The Huitinila sample, your nod to Loíza, and direct to Puerto Rico, styled yourself a Vallarde, hand pushing out of casket, singing one more time, de melaza en flor que cuando I'm way off today. De su negrura todo, the fro you sport, the way you dip, make you vocal copy, and dembo ricochet. Rumbones de esquina, en salte de medio, lo difunto and the cry a lo afro-boricua, lo negro, el maelos entierro, Nazareno clutching mic, las caras lindas de mi gente. Pasa frente a mí, el corazón. So, the next poem that I'll be reading, again, is something that went through workshops, so hopefully the changes I made make people like it a little better. Cover, Stand By Me. Make it louder, speed it up. This ain't no soul. This that bachata shit. Reverb bass line, that Latin flair, grain and rasp replaced by pretty boy smile. Have to say your name over the track. Jeffrey Royce Rojas, Scratch, Royce. When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. Scratch, y la luna es la luz que brilla ante mí. If you strip it down, can you hear the North Carolina backroads still calling? How Harlem couldn't hide them beneath jazzed trumpets and the shouts and shoves of riot police breaking glass. This sounds same as Santo Domingo calling over an ocean. How the D-train screech can't hide its bongos, this migration music, percussing passage, or when Benny King joined you on stage at the Latin Grammys. This man who never knew bachata did a two-step with you, while couples danced bachata behind you. Ruffled dresses, spinning crimson and teal and turquoise all around the embrace you shared at the end of the song. Real crossover appeal. How all I could think of was every hug my father gave me. Every time he ruffled my hair, coarse hands over naps. How that was all I ever needed to know. No lloraré, no lloraré. Scratch. I won't cry. I won't cry. No. Scratch. Oh, I won't shed a tear. Just as long as you stand. Stand by me. Scratch. Porque sé que tú estás junto a mí. All right. Last poem, real quick. So one of the things with workshop that we've been doing is that we have these prompts that go along with every reading. And one week we had a prompt pushing us to anthropomorphize. I'm really off today, I'm sorry. And this poem, when I was thinking about the prompt, I was like, you know what? You know, black people kind of get reverse anthropomorphized, like we get made into animals. So I'm going to do a reverse anthropomorphized poem instead of doing one about anthropomorphism. So this is called Because the Animal Has Always Been Human to Me, or maybe the human has always been animal. Freshman year, my high school's Olympic week has a hip-hop day. The mostly white student body jokes about dressing like hood rats. Ask the first black student they can find for an extra basketball jersey or do-rag. And in season 1 of Friday Night Lights, Smash Williams is called a junkyard dog by one of his coaches. Only an animal could be as ferocious as he is on the field, and it's 1960, scratch, 1970, scratch, 1980, scratch, 1987, scratch, 1988, scratch, 2006, scratch, 2009, scratch, 2010, scratch, 2011, scratch, 2013, scratch, 2014, scratch, 20 dash dash, and a banana is thrown at a black soccer player in England, scratch, Scotland, scratch, Spain, scratch, France, scratch, Turkey, scratch, Mexico, scratch, Russia, scratch, Italy, scratch, Germany, scratch, insert name of country here, and in 2014 I'm in Spain and a friend's bag is stolen while we aren't looking. When we ask someone nearby if he saw anything, he says the guy was a moro, como tú, he points. His finger a leash choking the Spanish from my throat, and in 2016, a student of mine writes a racist paper. Details how black people have to resist their primal urge to use vernacular in order to advance as a people, and every morning, I greet the animal in the mirror. Its eyes lock on me, fixated, hunting, clawing out of the glass. It growls at me, calls me every name I've never been called. Says, you monkey, you dog, you hood rat, you sloth. Says, you nigger, don't you know I've always been here, on the surface, your precious little mouthpiece. Thank you. Trade. Psych, I'm still here. Yeah, I went from reading to introducing our second reader of the night, Steffan Triplett. So Steffan was born in Joplin, Missouri. Wait a minute, this is actually the second time this year I've introduced Steffan. I thought I'd just reflect on that for a quick second. It's like some kind of destiny or something. All right. Steffan was born in Joplin, Missouri, as was, fun fact, Langston Hughes. There are actually a few things they have in common. One of which is that people guess that they're both probably gay. Steffan writes memoirs so you don't have to guess. He wishes he would have known at a young age that a black queer writer of decades past was from the same place as him. He believes there is power in representation, especially when that representation adds to the archive and resides under the umbrella of nonfiction writing. This bio got real deep real fast. He resents when people ask him, do you think you have an interesting life? And in answering the question of, why write memoir? He looks toward this quote by writer Andrew X. Pham. If we are all the sums of love, loss, joys, and sorrows, could our stories be so different? And if our intentions are pure, wherein lies the shame? Ladies and gentlemen, Steffan Triplett.
So that's my little soapbox in defense of memoir writing and nonfiction. Also, I had the Rihanna song playing because I recently had a piece published on Gravity called On Rihanna and Black Joy. Woo! Thank you.
What's up?
So yeah. Okay, I'm very envious of the poets that read from multiple pieces, and last time I read, I only got to read one. So I'm reading like excerpts from 3 different things. Yeah, so from both semesters. Okay, so this, oh, okay, one last thing.
Been thinking of dreams a lot lately. I have a lot of weird dreams, I feel like. So the first two pieces I'm reading are about dreams. Okay. I often dream of tornadoes, and I often dream of Will. Sometimes I try to outrun the great arms that reach down from the sky. Sometimes I can't escape them, and I get pulled up, flipped over, and turned in the air. Sometimes I walk up to the bellowing winds, arms outstretched, accepting that God is trying to lift me off of the planet, and has been doing so since that Sunday in May, when I could have so easily been anywhere but home. Sometimes I dream that Will never left, and when I'm dreaming of friends, he's there with all of us, laughing and giving me rides in his Hummer, and I can feel the wind blowing through the car windows in his sunroof. I had one dream that was different from the others. I dreamt that it was May 22nd, the anniversary of his death, and it was special, and that it was the one day of the year in which we could see him, alive and happy again. But if I wanted to see him, I had to do the work. So my friend and I set off to dig him out of his grave. We took 2 shovels and began digging, kneeling in the dirt, and scraping away the layers of rock with our hands until we saw Will's blue eyes and big smile. At this point in the dream, my friend disappeared, and Will and I spent the whole day together. We snuck around a hotel, so as not to draw attention to the fact that he was walking and talking around the town. We swam in the hotel pool as I caught him on my life and told him how much I had missed him. This continued as we went back to our hotel room to eat the snacks we always would. We lie in the bed, and I told him it was so weird that I could see him again. I told him about my first love and that I missed being able to hold someone that I cared for. He let me be the big spoon, and I squeezed him tight so that the wind couldn't take him away. I thanked him for all he had helped me through when he was alive. When it neared midnight, I had to walk him back to the cemetery. We got to his grave, and I gave him one last hug. He climbed back into his hole, lay down, and stretched out, then finally closed his eyes. I shoveled the dirt back onto him and woke up. And this next excerpt is from a piece I'm working on this semester in workshop. A gay person is used to keeping secrets, telling lies, sectioning off parts of themselves that appear in relative degrees of realness to the person. At least that's been my experience. I spent many years wishing that parts of me weren't real, and they became that way. I had 2 selves, one that was real and one that was pretend. I could assign all the bad stuff to the pretend me, all the things I didn't like about myself, that I was ashamed of, that I didn't want anyone, myself included, to know, were kept away and given to the flimsy outline of myself in my head that I didn't have to accept actually existed. Things start out innocently. It's not your fault. It's the world's that wouldn't accept you, made you feel ashamed and guilty. That's what you tell yourself, at least. But the idea is supposed to be that these feelings go away. When someone steps out of the closet and into the sun, the shadows are supposed to fall behind them. It gets better. The shame is supposed to dissipate, and the pride should rise. When people are okay with you being gay, the fight is supposed to be over, the danger gone. I had a dream that I was friends with myself. We got along and were identical and had sleepovers in my apartment. During one of these sleepovers, I woke to myself lying on top of me, staring into my eyes. It wasn't friendly or romantic, it was sinister. Then my viewpoint changed. I was the one on top of me, looking down at my other self. I felt myself constricting my own body. Then I woke up. What if I'm not the one I thought I was? I couldn't shake the feeling. Okay, and this last thing I'm reading is from workshop last semester, and it's about my first kiss, so I know I went Valentine's Day. Okay. We worked on scene writing, so yeah. Also, yeah, okay. I watched as Mark inched closer. His hair was black and swirly and hung out from under his beanie. The dark waves rolled around his forehead as he moved. This is where his Latin heritage showed the most. The hair of his Mexican father, whom he'd shown to me in pictures. His skin was pale this time in December, lighter than mine, which too had faded in these months without much sun. I looked at his eyes, then looked away, not knowing what to say. I kept my hands in the pockets of my hoodie and shifted against the rail. He kept smiling, and I tried to see anything but lips. His jeans were dark and skinny, the same pair he wore when we met at that college visit in Minnesota. His figure was petite, and I saw its edges defined in the layers that hung on his torso. "I want to kiss you," he said. My stomach squeezed into itself. I stood up straight and inched off the rail. I thought about what to say, but no words came out. It wasn't a question, and I didn't have to answer. I watched him move closer and felt the space between us tightening. All feeling had gone to my temples, and I watched the place where his words had left, pulling in like a magnet towards me. His smell surrounded me, and I felt breath and body heat. I felt a boy's lips on mine for the first time. For a moment, I didn't move. I took in the shock and the feeling of this pink warmth. I tried to match the movements of his mouth. My teeth hit his. I laughed and pulled away. He laughed too, but then saw I was no longer smiling. He asked me what was wrong. I just looked down, unsure of any other way to deal with the situation. I headed back to my car in silence. He followed. I fumbled the keys and silently got into the driver's side. "What's the matter?" he asked as he got in. Didn't he know? I'd expressed this to him earlier. I don't want to be doing anything that's wrong. I watched him work his mind for a response. Despite my hesitations, his presence made my heart flutter. "This isn't a sin," he pleaded. I could see his breath in the car. I wanted to believe him. I asked him about his youth minister again, the one he said knew he was attracted to men and said that God wouldn't care. He assured me that yes, she existed, and indeed had said those things. He asked if that made me feel better. "Can we go back to my house?" I asked him. "It's your car," he said, playfully, gently. I turned on my car and we left the park. While we drove back to my house, he reached for my hands across the center console. I turned up the CD I had burned and I let my senses be, trying to remember the moment. Back at my house, my parents were already asleep. Mark was spending the night, and driving back home early in the morning, we decided that we would watch a movie downstairs in the living room. He wanted me to choose. I fingered through my dad's collection in the laundry room cabinets. I chose iRobot. I explained that my dad and I were really into sci-fi. Mark said he was really into Will Smith. Are we going to actually watch this all?" Mark asked. I had been content with doing so, but he took my shrug as an invitation and moved his head towards mine. I looked away from the translucent robot on the screen and leaned in. I felt a little better now. I ran my hands through his hair. It felt like cold silk, smoother than mine. It felt wet like my hair when I get out of the shower. He kept kissing me, and I tried to ignore thoughts of what my parents would think, or if they came downstairs. He lifted his shirt over his head and put my hands on his chest. I let myself touch the hairs that sprinkled him. He assured me that it would be fine. We'd hear them if they were coming down. The credits had started to roll. "Are you ready to go to bed?" I asked. I turned off the TV and we walked upstairs. We brushed our teeth and I peeked through the crack in the door to make sure my parents were asleep. I made a pallet on the floor of my bedroom and gave Mark my bed. I moved the Scrabble box left out from before dinner, pinned the score sheet to my bulletin board. He watched and told me he had a good time. He told me he was glad he came. Me too. It finally felt true. I thought about what this meant. I kept having to remind myself that I was really gay now. It wasn't like before. I wondered when we would be boyfriends. Maybe we'd pick the same school. Our parents could get along. We both had white moms, dads that were minorities. We both went to church. We could come out together. We wouldn't have to travel far for holidays. It made sense. I was 17. Thank you.
So in looking through the walk-up song options for this next one, sometimes I just steal them from YouTube. And there was one YouTube video that linked a particular speech from the movie that the song is in to the song, and it was like too good to pass up. So we're going to start with that.
You walk into the ring, the #1 heavyweight in the world. Ready, don't you? Why? Because I waited for 50 years to make you ready. You hear the spit nails, kid? Like the guy said, you're gonna keep lightning and you're gonna trap thunder. You're gonna become a very dangerous person.
So Matthew enjoys making omelets with avocado cooked on the inside. It's amazing. And watching Breaking Bad with audio commentary on. Seriously though, Bryan Cranston and Dean Norris are hilarious just talking. If he hadn't already started his MFA, He might seriously consider becoming a really hip detective so that he can string lots of photos and documents together on a wall like detectives do in movies, and then pace in front of it, smoking a cigarette and looking very serious. Matthew Carlin.
So I'm going to read 4 poems, and 3 of them were workshopped last semester, so some of you will be familiar with them. And one of them not only is new, it's never been workshopped, so I'm just going to try it out for you guys. So this first one is called Crash Theory. Because I can't finish the poem, I want to be a painter. I want a room with high windows and lots of light. Charcoal sketches lining the walls, messy instinct, lost in the process of transference, lost like an ambulance in the rain, full of blood bags and tubes. Maybe an abstract study of bone marrow, deep red veined in layers of shadow. Maybe I buy easels from an old man who knows I am obsessed with streaks and smudges, whose eyes are cataract behind jeweler's glasses, on the highest magnification. I tongue a forefinger with saliva, drag it along a jagged line of psychedelic purple on a canvas that covers an entire wall. If poetry could be this messy, if it could get on everything, on my t-shirt and jeans, a protracted moment splitting into fractals, dripping utterance. If it could crash like the ambulance in my head, splatter the road back to the origin with sticky residue. The poem as material, moving, mitochondrial. If it could leak from canvas or flesh, splintering impulse. I drag a piano through the streets and beg for music. Okay, this is on the day of Pentecost. There is an olive grove burning in my head, but I've already turned off the lights. My bed, now fragrant with smoke, shakes, a death rattle. I'm dreaming again. Dear dream engine, give me a vision of rain kissing the steeples, anointing the world. Let me see myself as I am, lost on an empty boulevard without pants, crouched and feral, fumbling a paper crown. This desire is a theme cut loose, isn't it? It's beyond shame or penitence. How can I say it? I want words to set me free, and still nothing. No lone star guides me westward, no epiphany. My daybreak heart rages in the bone cage of my body, and still I won't wake. Dear carpenter, carve me a voice that can burn and not burn up. Dear master calligrapher, what is in a signature if not fire? I want my signature to hurt, every letter a branding. I want to wake waterlogged, forehead bruised by a stranger's kiss. In this storm, O ghost, a day is as long as the heart requires. Yes, I know the risk in such faith, and yes, I want to believe that it will work, so wake me up. I toss and turn, and toss and turn, eyes fluttering. A plume of smoke snakes from my mouth. Inside my tongue is a pilot light. If what remains is ash, will I feel the words leave my body? This is called Upside Down Kiss. In the rain, masks off and perilous, my only accomplice. Make me fearless. Make me dance backwards. The ledge, a promise. Make me say it. I want this. Shattered glass. I want this. Fracture. Exhale. We're breaking in. We're taking them by surprise. No safety net. Don't say it. That sting. Black and blue. Sleepwalk and tightrope. That burn. Cut the wires. We're falling now. Desire unfolding in us. Cut out angels. Make me say it. In the rain, in the dark, in the alley. I loved it. I loved the feel of it. How we pulsed together, thunderous, chest plate, insignia, belt buckle, symbol, second skin, mesh. We know how to dress, make a scene, move fluidly, acrobats, ascension and heat, sepia tone, like love if it bruised. So kiss me upside down until I'm falling, fearless. All right, so this last one is, again, the new one that hasn't been workshopped, and I wrote it. First of all, it's really long. I don't normally write long poems, and I wrote it while watching The Aviator about Howard Hughes. So we were supposed to do these dramatic monologue poems, and this one is from the perspective of Howard Hughes. So if there's anything in it that seems like crazy or whatever, just know that I'm speaking from his voice, not necessarily my own. Howard Hughes addresses Katharine Hepburn from the projection room. I'm the fastest man on the planet. I have a set of wings for every day of the week, and at night I dream up new ones. If you don't believe me, sleep with me again and listen for the sound of a propeller. But don't leave any fingerprints. Don't leave traces. I need to be as perfect as anything I built when the sun rises over Hollywood and I'm in the cockpit again, breaking records and burning engines so I can rebuild them from the crash. Rebuild them from the crash and fly faster, farther, fly across the world from New York to Paris to Moscow to Japan to Hawaii to Los Angeles and back to New York. At the Coconut Grove, we can dance and fake snow till 2 in the morning. We can fly low over Beverly Hills drunk, and you can kiss me again, and we can land on a golf course at dawn like we did. Do you remember that? Do you remember when I limped home after crashing in the beet field, and you cleaned my wounds and told me you would take the wheel if I needed you to? I've been playing that scene out over and over again, the smell of the beet, the hot water in your hands, you saying you take the wheel. The way you said it, the sounds of the words as you said them, your sincerity, that scene and its constituent moments every second. We're so close to being perfect. Sometimes they are perfect if I remember them just right. Somewhere I have a room full of cameras, maybe a whole vault of them. I want to recreate that conversation, a camera on you at every angle, the way you say every word. I want to hear it all again from your mouth, repeated from the beginning. I miss you, Katie. I really do. I want to show you my latest and greatest edit of Hell's Angels. Look. When the kamikaze crashes into the Zeppelin, the clouds are a stronger blue, almost like the ocean in a storm. I like that. The blood spilling from the pilot's mouth, now bright red. I like that too. I've combed through every reel and it's so close to being done, so close, every reel close to being perfect, and I want you to watch every reel and tell me it feels perfect. I'm not going back to Houston on a Pan Am. I'm not folding, I'm not closing my doors, I'm not stopping till the Hercules takes off, and it will, the Hercules will take off. No wiggle on the wheel or throttle, no fingerprints, no traces or imperfections. I'll take it off the ground and across the world, dragging a trail of red smoke filled with dancing bodies and an orchestra. I'll fit the Coconut Grove in its hole, that's what I'll do. I'm looking over the blueprints again for weak spots, for places I can keep building onto, and I can hear you speaking to me through the door. Can you hear me? I can do all of this for you. I love you. I really love you. I love you. I love you. I can fly above the weather in the substratosphere. I can make it so nothing can pull us down. We can fly around the world in 4 days. We can drink champagne above Paris or make love above Moscow. We can do anything, Katie. I can do anything. I can love you perfectly. I can love you perfectly. I can love you perfectly.